Thank you for tuning in to Reviving Humanity. Today's episode, The Lost Identity of the Black American, is a topic that all of us need to be addressing. Now, a lot of us, I won't say a lot, but I am noticing how there are lots of YouTube videos popping up, and one was very interesting. It was titled, All Black Americans, Their Ancestry is Native American. Okay, it was something like that, something that said the true identity of all, and I quote, all Black Americans are Native American. So basically the video opens up. It says, we come from people of intelligence. We come from people of, basically praising the fact that there were Black people, Indian, who were already here. And what that says a lot. If you pay attention, it says we come from intelligence. That's basically saying that the people who were enslaved were not intelligent, that they do not come from intelligence. But I want to start this episode off by reading a quote to you. Okay, it's really going to get deep. We're really going to get deep into this. But let me read this quote to you. Take a listen. Quote, I'm not from Africa. I'm from Sarasota, Florida. I think I said that right. Sarasota, Florida. Please let me know if I said that wrong. I had to get the pronunciation from Google. But it says, quote, I'm not from Africa. I'm from Sarasota, Florida. I despise Africa, not because of the Black people, colored Africans. There are some other races in Africa, or the people in Africa. It's just because when you look at an ad, you see dark people starving and having little water. I swear I'm not racist, even though I be racist to dark-skinned people, even though I'm brown skin. Now, I'm not going to read the entire quote. You can see there's a lot of just the grammar is off a lot in that. I'm reading it exactly how this person typed it, but you can see there's so much ignorance in that. They say, I despise Africa, not because of the Black people, colored Africans, but because when you look at an ad, you see people starving and having little water. So that is a justifiable reason to despise Africa and the people of Africa. Now, I don't know if this was a bot, if this is a real person, but either way, this is the mentality of a lot, if not all people who are Black and claim to have zero, and I do mean zero, African DNA in them. Now, I really want you to think about this statement. I just really want you to think about it. It's the mindset of people who say, I am not from Africa. I am from such and such America. I have European, Indian, etc. But as I said, zero, and I do quote zero, African DNA. While they sit there with a head full of tightly coiled Black hair. It's just baffling to me that you can sit there with hair more tightly coiled than mine, okay, and say that you have zero African DNA in you. This is a serious problem. Firstly, I need you to hear the shame vomiting out of the mouth. If we begin to break things down psychologically, we will have a better understanding of what's truly happening here. Okay. Psychologically, the mind needs to rationalize its disassociation by stating, I am not from Africa. Second, hear the shame. Find the shame in the tone in writing, the tone in speech that says, I am not from Africa. People come to America from all around the globe. Okay. There are second-born generations of people living here in the United States who are proud to announce that although they were not born in China, born in India, Russia, Japan, Korea, etc., etc. They are proud to be Chinese American, Mexican American, etc., etc. We are the only people who will say, well, I was not born there. I am not African. Yet these other people don't have to be born. They were born in America. And some people have, great grandparents, okay, who migrated here. So, and they still are proud to announce that after being here 3 generations later, 4 generations later, still proud to say, I am Chinese American. Why is it that we do not do the same? And don't you dare come to me with the dates and say that, well, that was so long ago, that anything Africa was so long ago. You do realize there are a lot of us still living here who have great grandparents or grandparents who were around in during Jim Crow. And there were still sharecropping. There was, still this illegal slavery still happening that you have to go digging for and find the records for. It's not going to be an easy Google search for you to find. But we will say we were not born here. We are not African. That makes it that justifies the statement. People will say, my family knows nothing about Africa, nothing about the culture, the food, the way of life, etc. So we are not African. You must understand and realize that you also don't know anything about the 574 Native American Indian tribes you claim to solely associate with. You know nothing about those either, because most of you only speak English. The reason we know nothing about Africa is because we don't question anything. Our identity has been ripped away from us, literally. We have been brainwashed. Our history has been rewritten. Slavery is currently being rewritten in the United States of America. So of course you don't know anything about Africa. You don't ask any questions. Let me tell you, my grandmother told me that her mother, which is my great grandmother, told me that she was Native American. Okay. She was Black and Native American. How come nobody questioned which tribe she came from? Okay, no one knows the answer to this question in my family, and that is sad. We don't question anything. So therefore, we know nothing. We must see that mental colonization is still working here, which is why I say we are living in modern day slavery, because mentally our minds remain tethered to our colonizers' chains. Mentally, we remain divided and conquered. So when asked by someone, Denise, why are you so passionate about this issue? Well, I'm passionate about it because I deeply care about the state of our future as Black melanated people on this planet. Forget America. I'm talking about the entire globe. As long as we continue to deny our connection toward one another, our connection to each other around the globe, we will remain colonized. We will remain dehumanized. Living in a country, the United States, where a white supremacy gang consisting of 68 members were only captured because of a drug bust. The country knew that the gang existed, this hate gang, when you know the history of this country and what this country is built on, and the fact that sundown towns still exist. And you know you have a white supremacy gang consisting of 68 members, 64, 68, roughly. I can't remember the exact 60 number, but 60 is large. And you don't do anything to arrest that gang for that hate. But now that you were able to catch them on a drug bust, get their weapons, now you are able to detain them. You should know that 24 of these members are still, out there somewhere, running wild, continuing their white supremacy. So this is what I am saying. You have no idea how much it hurts us as a collective when you remain ignorant to who you are, remain ignorant to the history, to your own history. Your government, and I'll say this again, your American government that you are so proud of knew that this hate group existed, but that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to push the law. Why was it not enough to charge them? Because, as I said, we remain divided and mentally conquered. And we don't see that their problem around the globe, in Africa, in France, and wherever you go, that their problem is our problem and our problem is their problem. We also don't take on the mindset. We have also taken on the mindset of our oppressor, who wants us to believe that we don't have any real tie to the continent of Africa. Because if we realized our true connection, we would fight against our common oppressor around the globe. That is the truth. We would all fight against our common oppressor. Instead, we are raised to be ashamed of our history, which was rewritten by white supremacy. And I want to give you an example. The company that I worked for in 2023, I left in 2024, but still, the company that I worked for, when they were trying to celebrate Juneteenth, it was very clear that they, in their minds, did not want to make the connection beyond slavery of who we are as Black people in this country. And that's what we are doing. Because as I said in the opening, he says, we come from intelligence. We don't come from slavery. We come from intelligence. So in your mind, you believe that you were taught to believe that slavery is the beginning, that is it, and that those who were enslaved were unintelligent, that there is no history beyond slavery. And so with this company celebrating it, they said, I don't know any Black owned businesses here. And I said, well, there are plenty of African restaurants in the Salt Lake City area. Why not go to one of those Salt Lake, those African businesses? Why? Because they don't want to make the connection. No one wants to make the connection. Although they can have us list ourselves as African American, they don't want to make the connection beyond slavery. And that is the problem. That is a huge problem. As long as we deny who we truly are, racism will continue to be taboo, while reverse racism is an international crime. Okay, it's an international crime, but racism itself, well, that is just taboo. That just does not exist. We will never know or demand to know the truth of our history, and we will continue to remain divided and conquered as long as we continue to run away from who we are, because we're not going to do the research that we need to do. There are currently, acknowledged by the United States government, 574 Native American tribes in the U.S. Yet most Black people will claim to be Cherokee Indian or other because it sounds appealing. It has racial hierarchy appeal. That is the truth. It has racial hierarchy appeal. How are we any different from white supremacy when we speak and behave in such a manner? How many of us even know the languages spoken by the 574 Indian American tribes that the U.S. has acknowledged? How many of us speak the language of the Cherokee? Do you know the language of the Cherokee Indian? Salagi. Salagi. The language of the Cherokee people is called Salagi. It is part of the Iroquoian language, the Iroquoian language family. How many of us know this information? And how many of us are studying the Iroquoian family language? Most of us will not dare to ask questions. We will just run toward the identity that best suits us without doing the work to adopt those ancestors' practices into our lives today. We want the title without the research. So how can you know for sure, without having studied all 574 Indian American tribes, that not one is connected to the 3,000 ethnic groups in Africa? We are missing a huge gap here in our history again that we shamefully don't want to trace back to Africa. We just don't want to trace it, have it connect to Africa. We want to say that the Cherokee people, that they originated in some part of America. Okay, but we all know that Asian people, there was an Asian group of people who migrated here. We can say that they migrated here. Why can't we realize that all of these groups of people migrated from somewhere? That the Black, you say Indian, migrated from somewhere. We don't want to go that far back. We don't want to think that far. We just want to stop with the Americas and let that be the history. And so what if they may have been here for, I think I read it said maybe, since the 1600s or earlier than that, maybe the 1400s, okay? And some people may even date back when they say that the Black people were here first, that they may have been here for hundreds of thousands of years ago. Okay, that they may have already crossed over here. And that is just research that I read. You know, I could be wrong about that number. It could be more around like the 60,000 years ago. You know, I'm not sure. The Americas, as you know, America is a new term. And according to the Native Americans, they used to call America Turtle Island. So previous to that, what was it called? That is what we have to think about. And you also have to think about going into, okay, if Pangea was a real thing, when did the continents start to separate? When did the Americas begin to form and things like that? So we just really have to do our research and understand that people migrated from somewhere. You can go to every continent where life sustains and see that when you trace it all the way back, you will find an African person. You will find those Asiatic features in China, in Japan. It goes all the way back to a Black, African, Asiatic person. Okay, same around the other parts around the globe. It all goes back to that because we were the first people on the planet. So what I'm saying is that we don't want to go far into our research. We just want to stop in America because, as I said, we are ignorant and we say things like, I am not from Africa. I am from San Jose, California, or things like that. That's what we will say to justify the fact that we are not African. Whereas everyone else around the globe have been here for generations and generations, but they can still announce that they are Russian, that they are Chinese, that they are Japanese. And you can see it, just like you can see it with us. You can look at us and see who we are. So what we really need to do is break down the psychology of what's happening here, break down the mentality to see the disease manifesting. Our lack of study and research keeps us ignorant. Listen to me. You tightly coiled haired individuals with skin darker than mine, melanin higher in count than any other racial group, including the American Indian, it's time to come home. Fight for your truth around the globe. Take the pen from the villain who desperately needs to be the hero without actually being a hero. Take that pen and allow the ink to pour over the pages white supremacy stole from you. Allow the truth to be revealed beneath its lies. Find pride in who you truly are so that collectively we demand change, truth, and respect. How long do we want to continue sitting around here, being divided and conquered, having to deal with supremacy all around the globe, but dealing with it individually? when we could come together collectively and fight this and finally rise above? This is why I'm so passionate about this. It is much deeper than someone just saying, well, this looks good. Ooh, yes. My great-great-great-great-grandmother is Cherokee. So you know what? I am Cherokee and I have 0 African DNA when your hair is just as tightly coiled as mine. Okay, this hair is our unique identifier. Around the globe, it identifies who we are. As a child, I was taught to believe that it was a curse. I said, Mom, why are we the only one cursed with hair like this? Everyone else has this silky hair. Why do we have this hair? It is a gift. This is how we know who we are. This is the roadmap. This is the roadmap for us finding our way back home within each other. But we don't want to see that. We want to ignore what is right in the mirror, staring directly back at you. Sure, some people like Waka Flocka can make claims that he took a DNA test and it said, oh, I'm European and I'm this and I'm all this Indian and all that. But I bet you Waka Flocka is not studying his Native American languages. He's not taking on that heritage. What is Waka Flocka doing today? You go look it up. I don't know. I'm not interested. But what I'm saying is we are not doing that work. And we will so happily stop in the Americas. Sure, of course, as I said, if people migrated from tens of thousands of years ago, okay, I'm not sure if it was actually 100. It may not have been 100,000 years ago. I don't know when people... I read the dates, but I don't want to give you the wrong information. You know, there's so many different dates. Some people say, as I said, people came here in the 1400s. People came here 16,000 years ago. There's different numbers. But my point is people obviously migrated here from somewhere, but you don't want to do that research beyond that. So, of course, if someone has been here, let's say they've been here for 50,000 years, before America was America, before it was Turtle Island, maybe it was called something else that we don't even know of today, right? So let's say it was called something else. And those people have been here for 50,000 years. Let's just throw a wild number out there and say that. Those people still came from somewhere. That blood is still in them. Okay, it's still all connected, which is why that dominant, that gene, everyone says that the African gene is the most dominant. That's why whenever you mix with another race, that African gene will dominate. You will see those features. And when you have a biracial child, you know, their hair will be curly and it'll be, you know, you'll have the mixture of if they mix with the white person or whoever they mix with that has that other hair, it'll be mixed, but it'll still be curly most of the time, still be curly. But you'll still see those features when we look at us, when you see us out and about, just like when an Asian person sees an Asian person, they know. Okay, they know. A Japanese person sees a Japanese person, they know. We know too, but we want to run from it and deny it. You know the features that you see. I don't care if your nose is slim, if it's wide, if it's medium, if it's a button nose, if it's a button up nose, what your eyes are, if they're slanted, if they're round, if they're oval, if they're almond shaped, whatever, you know when you see us. We know. But we want to deny that part of us that's in our DNA. And that is the problem. That is why we cannot get anywhere. Don't you want to finally rise? I mean, aren't you tired? Are you not tired of being dehumanized around the globe, being told to go back to Africa when this planet was gifted to all of us and our ancestors were actually here first? You're telling the original inhabitants of the planet where they can and cannot go? Just like sundown towns? Do we see how ridiculous that is? How disrespectful that is? You have no respect for the original people who are connected to the original people on this planet. There is no respect, and you do not demand respect when you are running away from who you are. You have no idea. You have no idea the damage you are doing when you deny the blood running through your veins. Our ancestors, enslaved or not, those ancestors are nobody to be ashamed of. Nobody to be ashamed of. You say you want to learn, you who are proud of your biracial, multiracial ethnicity. You say you want to learn about your multiple other races in your blood, not just the black one. Not just the black one you're shameful of, but you obviously don't know that one either. You don't know who you are at all. Because if you did, you would not allow white supremacy and their fake racial hierarchy to contaminate your mind. You wouldn't put your American citizenship above the truth of your identity, the respect of your humanity. America is a country like all others. They rise and they fall. But humanity for centuries has yet to rise as a collective consciousness for centuries. We continue to put the material of this world above our own humanity. That United States flag you are so proud of, you will never take that with you when you die. But your consciousness, that's what you will have to answer to. That's the only thing you will take with you. And when the day comes, when you have to answer to the choices you've made in this life, what will you say when asked, what did you get out of it? What did you gain by accepting and announcing your 100% Indian American identity? What did you gain by denouncing all African ancestry? And how has that helped African descendants all around the globe? How has that helped anything? What has that done for the collective? What has that done for the consciousness? Except feed your ego. What has that done outside of your ego? What did you gain? If you haven't yet challenged yourself to learn the language of your so-called Aboriginal roots, if you have not yet learned the culture, the food, the way of life of the Aboriginal, then what was the goddamn point in denouncing all African culture and identity? You must ask yourself why you're so willing to tell the world you own a Porsche, when in reality you know you drive a Honda. We easily attach ourselves to what we believe to be more appealing. If Africa was appealing, right? If it was appealing, quote unquote, none of us would denounce our African DNA. It is human nature. And the facts have scientifically proven already that all humans share 99.9% of the same DNA. At the end of the day, whether you like it or not, we are all connected. The sooner we accept and unite our similarities rather than divide over that minute difference, the sooner we can advance as a species. Do you want to advance or do you want to remain divided and conquered? We must understand the reasoning why we are so desperate to lie and say that all of us come from intelligent. We come from intelligent beings who were already here. We don't come from people who were already slaved and who were enslaved. You have to see that colonization, they have brainwashed you into believing that Africa, the continent, is just some, poor playground where people are just sick and dying all the time. Most of you have never even been to the continent. You have not studied any other language besides English. And as I read that quote in the beginning of this episode, you barely know English as well. So you barely have learned any languages. And then you're going to come in here and say that you despise Africa because in the ads, it's shown as poor and people have dirty water. And that's the thinking. This is the thinking. We don't think. But that is supposed to be a justifiable reason to despise something. You have been taught to despise it. And you are taught to despise it for a reason. Do you realize what would happen if we would all come together? It would finally dismantle this system of racism, white supremacy. Do you want to keep it going or not? I wonder if maybe you do want to keep it going. Because as I said, we are all connected. Stop letting white supremacy dominate your mind, keep your mind colonized. Go out and do some research for yourself. If you are going to announce that you have Indian DNA in you, at least learn one of the languages. Would you at least be willing to do that? Do you know what I would do if I found out exactly down to the village where I come from, where my people come from? I'm going to learn that language. I'm going to learn the culture. I'm going to adapt. I'm going to eat the food the way that they ate the food. It connects your mind. You have no idea the power behind that. This is not our culture, eating jelly beans and Skittles all day, okay? Eating hot mamas, okay, and pepperoni sticks, okay, and pizza and hot dogs every day and hamburgers. That is not healthy. That does nothing for the neurons in your mind. But when you know your culture, when you know down to the village, down to the tribe, exactly where you come from, you will become alive. You will be reborn. But you don't want to do that work, do you? You just want someone to give you a pretty paper and say that this is who you are, and you just accept it with no questions because the paper looks pretty. We must ask questions. It is very ignorant of you to say you have zero African DNA in you when you have yet to study any of the African languages. There are over 3,000 ethnic groups in the continent of Africa alone. Africa is the most ethnically diverse place on the planet. They have over 3,000 languages spoken on the continent. I mean, that is beautiful. And you mean to tell me that you truly believe that all 3,000 ethnic groups and all those languages spoken, that there's no intelligence there? Where do you get 3,000 languages with no intelligence? You do not know who you are. You don't know any of it. You have not studied any of it. As I said, my great-grandmother was Native American. Okay, so, but again, our family never asked, well, which tribe? We don't know anything about that. So we're clueless. That information does nothing for me. When most of my family have already passed away, that does nothing for me. So what I'm telling you is that it is important for you to ask questions, do the research, see how you can become connected to all parts of you and love the blackness in you. Put that blackness first, because we have been taught to put everything like that racial hierarchy. We've been taught to put everything else above black. Put that blackness first. You need to put that first because you need to learn to love that. You don't have to love, you don't have to learn to love anything else. But blackness is the one thing you need to learn how to love. That is the only thing you have been taught to hate. You have not been taught to hate the Chinese. You have not been taught to hate the Indian Americans, the Indians. You have not been taught to hate the Pakistans. You have not been taught to hate, you know, if you could, you would say that you were Pakistan, Indian, Chinese, Japanese, all these. You would say you were all of them, but black, if you could. Okay. You have not been taught to hate these other groups. Learn to love you first. Learn to love that black, that African DNA in you first. It is crucial. You have no idea how crucial it is. It will help you decolonize your mind and finally free yourself. We have too many self-hating black people teaching and confusing humanity of their own identity. You don't know their identity because you don't have the slave. You did not enslave anyone. All I'm saying is With all this information, knowing how many tribes there are, knowing how many ethnic groups there are, and for you to not do any research is very ignorant. That is the mindset. When you have the mindset who says, I am not African, I'm not from Africa, I was not born there, I was born here, it is very racially ignorant of you to say. It's a part of that. You're taking on the mind of your oppressor when you speak like that. Taking on that racist rhetoric. That is what you are doing. Whenever someone says that, it is a huge red flag. It is a cause for concern. That person needs therapy. They need to learn who they are. They need to love themselves. When you say, I am not born here, I am born there, and I'm sorry if you listening, this is you, but this is true. It is a red flag. It is something that you need to examine. If you say that you are not African because you were not born there, you were born in Mississippi, that is a red flag that you need to work within yourself. Because as I said, everyone else can come here. They are been here for generations upon generations, and they still say that they are Chinese American, they are Indian American, they are this. They wear it, even though they were born here, even though they were born in America like you and I. They still take pride in who they are, who they truly are. So stop using that as an excuse. That won't fly anymore. You have work to do. We all have work to do. This is part of reviving humanity. You are the beating heart of humanity, and you don't even know it because you have been colonized to believe that the beating heart of humanity is nothing but unintelligent, uncreative, just swinging on trees, monkeys, apes, the planet of the apes. That is what you have been taught to believe. Black, melanated, indigenous people are the beating heart of humanity, and we cannot revive humanity without reviving the beating heart of humanity. So I will press this. I will press this issue. I will continue to press, speaking to my melanated African American, African descent people, Pan-African people around the globe to please understand who you are, love who you are, because we cannot unite the globe if we remain divided and conquered. If our minds remain conquered, we must know who we are. Stop being ashamed of what white supremacy has taught you to be ashamed of. Sure, you can have, as I said, I have Indian American in my family, but you don't know anything about it. Just as I don't know anything about it either. But what I do know is that when I look in the mirror, I see Africa. I see Africa when I look in the mirror. And I am proud. And so should you. So should you be proud. That is all I have for today. I know it was a lot, but I need to press this issue because I'm telling you, I am so tired of seeing those YouTube videos of people saying all Black people are Indian American. And we don't come from, we don't have any connection to Africa at all. It's just stupid. I'm sorry to say that, but it's ignorant. It's very ignorant. We have a unique identifier. Besides the color, the complexion of our skin, it is our hair. That was not a curse. It was a gift because they knew we would be lost and confused. But I am telling you, when you take off that wig and you wash your hair and you blow dry it, or you don't even blow dry it, just let it air dry and pick it out, your hair is going to be tightly coiled. And tightly coily hair comes from where? The continent of Africa. You, my sister, my brother, my whoever's, my theys, my thems, everyone's, you have African DNA running through your veins, and you need to be proud of it. So, again, that's all I have for today. I hope that you all stay safe. Educate yourself, please. Get to know yourself. But most of all, take care.